It's time now for your Week 14 starts and sits for CBS Local Sports. I'm Jamey Eisenberg. That's Dave Richard. We're going to give you some quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends to start, and some you might want to avoid in the all-important start of the fantasy football playoffs. Dave, let's go with the quarterbacks. Who are you going with?
I'm going with Philip Rivers, who I believe is your start of the week. He's my start of the week every week. I've been loving this guy for over a decade. He's taken on the Bengals, who in their last 6 games have allowed 15 passing touchdowns. That's not very good for them, but it's great for Philip Rivers, who has multiple touchdowns in every game this season. Top 5 fantasy quarterback, Jamey.
Top 3 fantasy quarterback, Dave. Let's go. One guy you want to sit this week is Carson Wentz. He was great last week, but tough matchup this week against that Dallas defense. We know the Cowboys defense has been fantastic. Just ask Drew Brees, just ask Matt Ryan. Both those guys held to under 15 fantasy points. Wentz on the road, even though it's an all-important game for that NFC East, I think Wentz will struggle. Let's go now to the running backs, and it's waiver wire week. The guys that you picked up, you should plan on starting, including Jeff Wilson. Will start for the 49ers with Matt Breida out with that ankle injury. Tough matchup against Denver, but you know what? I don't care. I love what they did with him in the passing game. 8 catches on 9 targets. That will be important. You've seen guys do well against the Broncos with their receiving totals, and that's what Jeff Wilson will give you in Week 14.
Gotta love those waiver pickups like Jeff Wilson, Jalen Samuels, and Justin Jackson, but not this waiver pickup. Spencer Ware, everybody rushed to get him a week ago when Kareem Hunt was cut from the Chiefs. Now he's taking on the Ravens. Baltimore holding running backs in their last 6 games to 3.3 yards per carry. He is a touchdown-needy running back in a difficult matchup. I'm staying away.
Probably a good idea, Dave. What about the wide receivers you like this?
Well, we're going to go with the receiver that everybody knew would be awesome this time of year, and that's Adam Humphries of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Really him? Yes, really him. His last 5 games, he's given you at least 11 fantasy points in 4 of them. In his last 16 games, he's given you at least 14 PPR fantasy points in 5 of them. New Orleans pass defense is its weakness, especially in the slot. There's no Marshawn Lattimore covering Adam Humphries. You will see him do well.
And Deshaun Jackson not expected to play. That's good news for all the Tampa Bay pass catchers. You know, sometimes addition by subtraction is good. Sometimes addition is just not very good at all, and that's been the case with Alshon Jeffrey. When they added Golden Tate, his numbers have gone bye-bye, and so has his fantasy value. You cannot trust Alshon in this matchup against Dallas. I do not think he's going to find the end zone because he just has not been doing so. Targets have been down, production down. You know what else is down? Him in your lineup. Put him as a sit. Let's move now to tight ends, and we're always trying to find the next guy. Well, you know who's been trying to find that guy? Sam Darnold. He's back for the Jets. His favorite target? Chris Herndon. We saw in the 4 games before Darnold started to deal with that foot problem, this was a guy he was leaning on. Scored 3 touchdowns in those 4 games. Now, it's not an easy matchup against Buffalo, but can you tell me who's going to be the Jets' best wide receiver? No. Robbie Anderson, Quincy Enunwa, Jermaine Kearse. These guys have been up and down and down and up. The one thing you count on, Darnold to Herndon. That's a good option. Week number 14.
You said start all the Bucs pass catchers, and maybe you just said wide receivers, but the tight end in Tampa Bay, I am nervous about. It's a difficult matchup against the Saints. They have held every tight end they faced to 6 fantasy points or fewer. That includes Zach Ertz. This is a good defense. They take away tight ends, and they've taken away Cameron Brate before. In 6 career games against the Saints, he scored once. It's the only touchdown that Jameis Winston has ever thrown to a tight end in his lifetime against the New Orleans Saints. You can find a better tight end than Cameron Brate, including Chris Herndon.
The best receiving total against the Saints was O.J. Howard in week number 1 with 54 yards. I'm in total agreement on staying away from Cameron Brate this week. To recap, our starts: Philip Rivers, Jeff Wilson, Adam Humphries, and Chris Herndon. The guys you want to avoid: Carson Wentz, Spencer Ware, Alshon Jeffrey, and Cameron Brate. Good luck in your matchups in week number 14. For Dave Richard, I'm Jamey Eisenberg. These have been your starts and sits for CBS Local Sports.